Welcome to 15 And, where we grow through the transformative stories and principles from the Bible. I hope you enjoy this teaching. I hope you share it with others. And I hope you go to 15and.org, click the Donate Now button, and support this mission.
One of the most transforming ideas for me over and over and over again, this kind of idea is playing out in the smallest of moments in my day, the biggest struggles I face. Here it is. This is it, what I want you to walk away with today. Renewal is cooperation with God's rhythm, not control over your outcomes. Renewal is cooperation with God's rhythm, not control over your outcomes. We're in a series called Be the Tree, where I'm just taking you through what I think are 4 of the core biblical paradigms for how we are transformed, how we are leaders at the absolute best of who we can be, how we build healthy culture. And we've walked through a sequence. The first part, we looked at this idea of motive, why you lead, how important it is to really figure out why you're doing what you're doing. Because insecure leaders are ruining the world. And if we're leading for our own validation, not impact, our motive that is distorted deforms us, and we ruin our world. As we start to lead for impact, not validation, we have a vision for how we can build. And we said, we can build. We build culture continually through faith, hope, and love. And last time we looked at the process that God uses to build us, that we get secure in the identity, in the root of who we are, clear in our mission, the trunk, and we build healthy community through faith, hope, and love. And we looked at the way that we get distorted in our identity last week, where we saw this continuum. On one end, we say, validate me when we're proving. On the other end, don't invalidate me when we're hiding. And right in the center, where we learn to lead for impact, not validation, by centering God. So all of this ties together, and all of that is a lifetime's learning. All of that would be a lifetime's learning. And I keep coming back to it over and over and over. But there's something today that is so powerful for me that it had to be 4 core paradigms, not 3 core paradigms. Because this is what I use over and over and over and over. It tells you what to do when you're not winning, without proving, without hiding, without leading for validation, without pretending, without quitting, without forcing. And if we could just take this metaphor further, the whole title of the series, Be the Tree. We looked at the parts of the tree last time. Now I want us to zoom out and think about the rhythm of the tree. A tree doesn't argue with January. It's cold. Bah humbug. A tree doesn't freak out in October. What's going on? Something's different. A tree doesn't do toxic positivity in December. It's all going to change fast. It's going to be different tomorrow. No. Over and over, what is a tree doing? It's cooperating. And that's the key verb I want to lock in on with you. Cooperate. It's the best way you can think about the whole series, and it's the best way you can think about today. Now, for a long time, I thought growth was linear and about being in control. I would be around, when I was a pastor, I was pastoring people twice my age for a long time. So I would be around people that were really well put together. They had a lot of health in their finances. They had a lot of health relationally. They had a lot of health spiritually. And so what I would see over and over is in that place they were at, they were so put together, I would look at my life and go, I'm not as put together as them. I'm not at the same level as them. Now, I've seen this over and over where most leaders secretly believe growth should always be up and to the right. If we're doing what we should be doing, revenue should always be up and to the right. Engagement should always be up and to the right. My confidence should always be up to the right. My marriage connection with my wife should always be up and to the right, with my kids, with my discipline, with my spirituality, with my health. And when things aren't always up and to the right, we go, well, something's wrong with me. What am I not figuring out? I'm failing. This shouldn't be this hard. I got to fix this now. I got to get it back. If I just had the right conditions, maybe we don't beat ourselves up. Maybe we have a victim mindset and we blame others. Well, it's the larger system I'm a part of. It's because they won't give me what I'm due. It's because they won't recognize me. For your life to continually advance, vision will always require a price. But as that old saying goes, pain isn't optional, suffering is. And when I learn to think of myself like a tree going through rhythms, I'm able to separate from the moment so that I'm in a place that the suffering doesn't have to consume me. I can separate from it and see the pain. When we feel threatened, when we get in that place that it's not making sense, it's not working like we thought it should, and we feel overwhelmed and frustrated and we start forcing it or we start hiding it, our nervous system starts to get out of whack. We start to get overly irritated with our kids or avoid key issues. Over and over and over again, we're missing that growth isn't always up and to the right, that renewal isn't about our control, but our cooperation. One of the most vivid moments this became clear to me years ago. I didn't grow up in Columbus, Ohio, so wasn't used to the cold. Been here now about 18 years, but this was one of the earlier times I'd been here where it was a rough winter, not like the mild winter we're having this year. And the weather breaks, it's warm, it's nice, and we go to the park. I took the kids to the park, and it felt like, you could be outside and the sun is on your skin. And I'm prepared. I'm in dad mode. I take the zero gravity chair to the park. You know, those little fold up zero gravity chairs. Because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take an awesome nap. It's outside. It's beautiful. I'm tired. Kids, go play. Watch out for each other. Don't get in any white vans. If something starts to happen, yell for me. Otherwise, I'm out. And I'm just in the zone. You know, you can't control that. Like, you just start to really let down and relax fully. Music's playing. I'm on the chair. I'm so comfortable. We're there minutes. Dad, we want to go home. Ooh, the irritation, the forcing, the frustration. Maybe yours isn't external, proving. Maybe it's more hiding, just like, quiet bitterness. I get home and I'm like, I'm going to get that nap again. It's going to work out. I'm going to make this happen. And so vividly, I remember just stepping out on the deck. My wife was sitting out on the deck, and she's like, hey, I need to talk to you about a few things. Is now a good time? Sure. I'm letting go of what I wish was true to cooperate with what's unfolding. What's happening for us in the small and big moments over and over and over. It's not that we need more leader energy, more forcing it, more making it happen. It's actually more of an issue of cooperation and recognizing what's going on. So to really understand how we continually transform, to pull back from this idea that it's all about our control, we're going to think about the tree in just terms of seasons, 4 seasons. And there's some parts that I've, growing up in Christianity and hearing as much biblical teaching as I have, I'm kind of blown away that I haven't heard more along the lines of, you're going to go through seasons that are not going to be fun. You're going to feel doubts. Your best seasons don't last. Your worst seasons won't kill you. You can't skip this process. You can't force it. You can't rush. You can't try to get back yesterday. It's gone. And I wish I would have heard that way earlier, because if I would have, I wouldn't have gone into those places where I went into, where I was beating myself up, or I had a victim mindset and I was villainizing someone else, or I wasn't being tricked by some half-truth ideology that was comforting me because I felt like I should have it all together and it wasn't working out like it should. So if linear growth, it's always up and to the right, is a lie, what's true? What's true older than business books? What's true older than your favorite leadership podcast? God built reality with rhythm into the tree. Growth is a cycle. Renewal is learning to cooperate with the season you're in. The reason this matters is because if you demand linear progress from what you're going through, you'll either force things, fake things, or quit, because you just don't make sense of what's happening. Now, I want to give you a biblical overview of this. I always say, don't believe me, search it out for yourself. Here's just a quick summary of how God built cyclical rhythm into creation. Genesis 8:22. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night will not cease. Genesis 8:22. God's saying this rhythm is going to keep going and going and going and going and going. Before there was a business cycle, there was a creation cycle. And God doesn't apologize for winter. He's hard-coded it into reality. Ecclesiastes 3:1, for everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. The Bible doesn't say for everything there is a summer, which would be awesome. Instead, it's for everything there is a time, for everything there is a purpose. Different moments require different wisdom. Psalms 1:3, we looked at this as a frame for this series. He will be like a tree planted by streams of water that brings forth its fruit in season, whose leaf does not wither. But the leaf isn't always bearing fruit. Fruit has a season. It doesn't wither, but it goes through cycles. Mark 4:28, Jesus said, for the earth bears fruit by itself, first the blade, then the ear. I mean, he's pointing out an obvious thing to them. And he's saying, look, this is how this works. This is how it produces fruit. He's describing growth as stages. John 15:2, every branch in me that doesn't bear fruit, he takes away. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. Pruning feels like a loss. It feels bad. It's not pleasant, but it's targeted renewal from God. So the Bible doesn't call it weakness for us to be in a different season. Psalms 126:5 said, those who sow in tears will reap in joy. So a cycle doesn't mean you're stuck. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean someone is your enemy. Renewal is a process. And here's the thing. Working with so many leaders and teams over the years, reflecting on this in my own life, I've seen how, without awareness to this cycle, you look at your life and you think you should be able to constantly just run yourself right into the best seasons. It's not up and to the right. I need to pray. I thought through this. I talked to a friend. I had the conversation with my wife. I pushed this issue up with my business partner. Why is it still not working out? It should have worked out. And that's the thing, because a season can be a moment, a week, a year, or a decade. And I wish the biggest problems would resolve quicker, but usually the bigger the problem, the more I'm learning these seasons. You don't control your circumstances. You cooperate with them. Yes, there's things that you influence, but the Bible is over and over saying there's a big process at work. And you need to make a plan so you can recognize where the Holy Spirit interrupts it, and you need to have an intention. But as you face up against the reality of circumstances, you're not bringing your will to bear. You're trying to pay attention and go, how do I cooperate with what's unfolding? And this is the way that I do it. I think about it in terms of the 4 seasons of the tree, starting with fall. Fall has one moment that I have to pay attention to more than anything else. What do I need to let go of? I want to anchor this model for you in Proverbs 3:5-6. It is a truthful statement that I'm running through this cycle many times every day. Proverbs 3:5-6, the beginning of it is this: trust in the Lord with all your heart. That's the starting point. Why is that the starting point? Because in the fall season, I have to trust God enough to what? Accept the reality that I wish it wasn't true. I'm letting go. Fall is when something dies, and I live in truth more than hyped positivity. I'm answering this question: what isn't working? A method, a relationship pattern, a role identity. I'm not trying to force what I wish was true on reality. I'm accepting what isn't working. I took StrengthsFinder when I was an early leader and had way too much responsibility. And it told me that my first strength was future. I don't even remember the 5th one, but I remember the top 4: future, focus, strategic, achiever. But future was number 1. And I remember sitting with a direct report, and he was crying because he was overwhelmed by all I was giving him to do. And in my mind, and I am not saying this is healthy, this is dysfunctional, rather than pacing him better, I thought I'll just give him more and he'll learn to do what I had to learn to do, crawl out with the priorities through all of that overwhelm. And as he was crying, grown man, I thought, I don't even want to tell you the piece of paper that's in my desk, it's before you typed everything, that has the longer list of things to do on it. And as we got into a dialogue about this, I'm trying to be a good human. I'm just stupid. I'm slow to learn things. I mean, I tell my kids stories about when I'm waking up to realities about learning what it's like to do win-win in your mid-20s. And they're like, how do you not learn these things earlier? I'm like, I don't know. They just don't show up and they don't get any hold in my brain. But once they do, they're there. And I was like, listen, I won't say his name, but my top strength through StrengthsFinder is future. I see where we can go as an organization and where you can go as a leader. So it's not me being a jerk, overwhelming you with the future. It's me living in my strength. Don't you see that? Which is such a terrible approach. I get it now. I was trying to comfort myself in my ways that I lead for validation, in my own insecurities. And I was using that to say, I'm going to bring my will to bear on this situation. There's no prayerfulness in me in that moment. I'm not trusting in God with all my heart. I'm insecure and worried the organization is not going to get to the future it needs to. And I'm putting pressure on him to do his part to get us there. It's unhealthy. It's dysfunctional. Now, it doesn't mean you go to the other extreme and you're never at a place that you're bringing people a challenge that they grow up under. I was just over-indexed on the wrong side. And I went through a revolution. When I started waking up to how I was leading insecure, I had to work like a leadership Alcoholics Anonymous. I had to call a bunch of people that work for me and apologize to them and say, I'm sorry, I see now, I was wrong. I went through an intense fall season where I was letting go of everything that got me to that point. A complete undoing. Some of you know the story where we went from custom building our second dream home to almost getting evicted from a house we were renting. Fall is the season of endings. Something isn't working, and mature leaders don't panic. They own the truth as quick as they can. Because I've seen this happen in my life over and over. If I'm not honest about what's breaking, it will break me. How quick can I accept what I wish wasn't true? It's not just the big stuff, it's the small stuff too. And I know someone is failing the fall temptation, the fall season, and how it allures you to stay in denial. If I see them just doubling down with more intensity, forcing old motivations, distraction, numbing, performing instead of facing reality, just going through the motions. The fall temptation is simple. Pretend, fake, hype yourself, hustle, put your head in the sand. The fall doesn't reward pretending. You have to stare down what you want to ignore. You have to name what's dying. You have to have a funeral for the dead ideas, the relationships that are over. Ecclesiastes 3:1, for everything there is a season. John 15:2, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. I got one job in the fall. Let go of what I wish was true. Second season, winter. I lean in. What do I lean in on? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. So in the winter season, I'm now exploring what I'm accepting. Fall season, I let go of what I wish was true. Winter season, I do a deep dive on it. Fall season, what isn't working? Winter season, why isn't it working? In the winter, I'm not focused on intensity. I'm focused on clarity. Here's the thing. When you're in a winter season and you're really cooperating with it, you will actually look lazy in a way because you're holding space for a minute. You're waiting. You're exploring it. You're allowing grief to get processed. Look, if it's a big shift in your life, it's a bigger winter season. It's more processing. If it's a small winter moment and you're running through a cycle like I would in a given day, that is a quick turn. I could be, today's day, there could be 7 or 8 moments in meetings, in conversations, in an email I'm not expecting, where, oh no, I wish that wasn't true. It doesn't even have to be big. It could be the small stuff of life. Hey, Dad, my car battery's dead. Whatever. Okay, I got to accept what I wish wasn't true immediately. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. I have enough resources to meet the demands of today. for the small things, right? Lean in. You don't lean on your own understanding. What are you doing? You're leaning on the mind of Christ. When you're in the winter season and you really let go of what you wish was true so that you could deeply explore what's happening, it's not a tightened willfulness to your internal spirit. It's an open willingness for Christ to give you the understanding you need. Here's the problem. The battle for your identity is being played out continually at the level of the imagination. The enemy wants you to feel insecure through your fall seasons, so you ignore them. If you do start exploring them in the winter, the enemy wants you to feel insecure about who you are, so you start proving and hiding. The imagination is also where God gives you the thoughts of Christ. Isaiah 55, they rain down. His word doesn't return void. The parable of the sower. The sower is throwing out the word, and it returns 30, 60, 100-fold return. I'll say it this way. You will not reason your way out of your winter season. You will not analyze your way out of your winter season. You will not think your way out of your winter season. I mean, this is even culturally appreciated. Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, both within the last year have said, I did not get to my best decisions through analysis, through reason. How? It's a received thought from outside of you. Andrew Huberman, the neuroscientist, recently said, I wish I would have started basically praying sooner because I have thoughts come to me outside of myself. And we know the fiery arrows of accusation that tear us down in our identity. We falsely interpret them at the mission level, but they're really an attack at the identity level. We don't always know how to not lean on our own understanding and open ourselves to where the imagination gives us the insight we need. How do I know it's the voice of Christ in my life? It's the mind of Christ. It aligns with Scripture. It aligns with wisdom. It aligns with my community and how they speak into my life. I have peace in it. And as I process all that, that's the level that I'm being given the mind of Christ in that moment. So if it's a small thing, oh no, there's not enough time. My kid's car battery has to be changed. I've got to cancel this meeting. They're going to be disappointed. I got to let go of what I wish was true. I lean in. And oftentimes what happens is Christ gives me a way through that I haven't yet considered. The winter temptation is a freak out energy. You're frantically trying everything. If you're not passing the test of the winter season, you can't sit in that moment enough. And so you just mistake intensity for clarity. How you know you're passing the test of the winter season, you lean into what embarrasses or scares you. You study yourself. You study the situation. You let go of what ended in the fall so deeply that you grieve it, and now you can let those dead things become the food that feeds this tree that you are for your future. And it's hard because the winter we wait. And that's the opposite of what every business book will tell you. Immediately take action. I do have a bias for action. More often than not, if you're not in motion, it's a lot harder to steer the bike. I want to be in motion. But I have to pay attention to this subtlety of feeling a connection to the Holy Spirit and discerning, is this a red light, yellow light, green light? Isaiah 40:31, those who wait for the Lord will renew their strength. I wish I could just renew my strength. I don't want to wait. I don't want to go through the winter. Lamentations 3:26, it is good that a man should hope and quietly wait. I had a surgery years ago, and I told the story in another teaching, so I'm going to be super brief, but give you the newer implication. I had a quarter-sized spot on my cheek that I was convinced was psoriasis. Steroid creams, psoriasis creams didn't heal it. Went to the dermatologist. He was like, that's cancer. You're going to be in for surgery in 3 weeks. And they cut a quarter-sized hole, then they cut a 9-centimeter oval. I have a scar here now. Grateful to keep my ear. He told me that. I have a list of creams that don't cure cancer if you need them. But now I got to go do my skin checks. I don't miss my skin checks. I make sure that I do my skin checks because I ignored something for a long time and it got worse. And because it got worse, it actually was a threat to my body as the cancer had started to grow down a hair follicle and they had to cut really deep. And so now I have a little spot right here. And they're going to have to do something about it. They have to freeze spots off sometimes, cut them off, whatever. But I got my skin checked next week because I've leaned in, and now I'm in the spring season with taking care of that. I have routines around what I stopped ignoring. See, this is the next season that follows the winter. If you let go, if you lean in, if you trust in the Lord with all your heart and you don't lean on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him. In the spring season, we're surrendered, we're centered. It's not what we wish was true, but it is what's true. Christ inspires our imagination, so we don't lean on our own imagination, our own understanding in the winter season. And then what happens to the tree in the spring? There's buds of growth. There's new life. And we want to systematize it. We want to put routine around it. We want to put intention around it. You don't just tell your wife you love her because you feel it. You learn to always surround her with affirmation. You don't just tell your kids, I love you all the time, I'm proud of you. When you feel it, you surround them with it. You also tell them where they can improve. You give them feedback. You coach them. You give them wisdom. You do this with your team. You systematize the things you care about. You put routines around the things you care about. In all your ways, acknowledge him. In all your ways. So this isn't a mild thing. This is a full surrender thing. And like over and over and over, I see so many people suffer because they don't want enough. They don't desire enough how beautiful life can be. I mean, Jesus said, I came to give you life and life abundantly. I'm after the life God has for me continually. All my ways surrendered, because who knows where this is going to go. And if I'm surrendered, there's action to take. I explored something in my winter season and I have an insight, and now I need to take a step. So the key question in the spring season is, what's to be done? It could be a small action, like establishing a system of date night. It could be a big action. I'm leaving the company. I'm starting this thing. I'm moving roles. In the spring season, it feels like a new discovery to you. But the more you reflect back on it, you'll find it's really a rediscovery of what's true. It's when you build a new rhythm around what winter clarified. It's where you stop talking and start practicing. Now, I know somebody is failing the spring season when they just are hyperactively trying to organize their whole life and just going back to the old routines that they knew under pressure. They're confusing movement with progress. The spring temptation is ambitious distraction. You start 19 things because it feels like you're doing the right thing. But if you've really reflected on your winter, it's an upgrade of structure and systems at the highest level. I have found in my own life, I'm doing the spring season well when I eradicate wrong routines and I embed the right ones. I start making good small bets and figuring out what's working. I choose the next step. Romans 12:2 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Because I leaned into the winter, my mind is renewed and it emerges in the spring. 2 Corinthians 5:17, the old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Now, I understand the implication of what that means in Christ. And there are a lot of people when they're preaching this, they want to shame people who use this in a very practical way. No, I would say it this way. The bigness of Christ means every moment can have this cycle of a revolution. Oh no, this is happening. It could be very small. I'm going through this cycle 15 times in a day. Oh no, this is happening. I am accepting this reality. I lean in, not on my own understanding. I receive the mind of Christ. In all my ways, I acknowledge him. I'm surrendered. That's how this process works. Or the big stuff also. And it's made new. A situation that looked dead, impossible. I can't do this, is now possible. I've helped over the years. It's not even something I want to be known for. I don't even put it into any of our stuff that we do with organizations, but I've helped a number of people over the years that have a lot of responsibility and challenges, a lot of public accountability, rebuild like their calendar. Just completely rebuild it. And it's amazing to me about how much comes to their life in terms of satisfaction, fulfillment, and reward when they get that really figured out and dialed in. It's exactly what Jesus said. God puts new wine into a new wineskin. In the spring season, you're figuring out what the new wineskins are. Now, if we pass the test of the spring season, we get to go to summertime, baby. And summer's a great season, unless I'm teaching this in like the far southern parts of this country, and then they want our winter, and we want the opposite. But we get the metaphor. Summer's a season of enjoyment. Summer's a season where, even though it's not permanent, we know there's something to celebrate. We're not confusing summer with a perfect arrival, because no peak lasts forever. But we enjoy the fruit of what we've seen develop in our lives without building our identity on it. Now, taking it back to Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Accept what you wish wasn't true, the fall season. Lean not on your own understanding. In the winter moment, I'm leaning in to who Christ is and what God is doing. In all your ways, acknowledge him. Spring season, summer season, he will direct your paths. I'm celebrating with gratitude. There's a deep intentionality of rest in my life. I'm rooted. I'm keeping practices that built the foundation in the spring, but I'm protecting the awe and wonder. I'm answering these questions. What do I want to savor? What do I want to protect? But nothing lasts forever. So I see people starting to fail the temptation that is in summer when they start to coast. They get complacent. They get addicted to chaos. They can't engage without crisis. They complain about fighting fires with a lit match behind their back. So in the summer season, if you're going to do this well, you ask yourself this question: what early signs of entropy might I be seeing? Because fall's going to come back around. But while it's there, sleep with one eye open and enjoy it. Psalms 126:5 says it this way: those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Galatians 6:9, in due season we will reap if we do not give up. This is the rhythm of every moment. In the fall, I'm releasing. In the winter, I'm waiting. In the spring, I start advancing. And in the summer, I rest on those advances. And I enjoy the moment. And it's the small moment of, oh no, one of the kids' car's battery is dead. I got to figure out a creative solution for the day's demands. I take effective action. And I enjoy a special moment with them I didn't know I'd have. And that's happening many times in a given day. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And it's happening in the big stuff. Now, you in your own biblical study and processing will find the paradigms that mean the world to you. These are the 4 core paradigms for me. I believe in these so much, we did build an organization around it. This is everything we do with Site Shift. In the fall season, we're helping people get aware. Aware of what? Are you leading for validation or impact? The key question you have to answer. So we have a validation check around that. In the winter season, we're helping you figure out where your identity is being tested, where you're most insecure, which is why we have the IFQ and the culture risk report. For the individual and the team, we show them that moment. And it all flips in the spring. When you get your culture breakthrough, you get a plan for what to do. And you rest in the summer as you systematize the behavioral shifts through how we approach it, which is called figure that shift out. Now, I'm only saying that to you so I could work it in the recording for people to hear. No, I'm only saying that to you to say, this is the conviction for me. Like, I know what this does in my life when I pay attention to it. And I have seen so many good Christian leaders pressure themselves because they feel like they don't have it more together. And I am blown away, and it relieves me continually to hop on the phone with leaders or on Zoom and realize no one is consistent as they pretend to be. What breaks people isn't inconsistency. It's the exhausting effort to look consistent, like your life is always in a summer season. And wholeness doesn't come from hiding. It comes from starting with the fall season and telling the truth about it. So this is where the whole journey of this series ends. There are 2 kinds of people, winners and losers. And what I found over and over, what makes the winners is they stop trying to control their circumstances and they just cooperate with what's happening in the moment, where it's teaching them wisdom, where it's helping them upgrade their approach. They stay persistent and consistent with a vision. They're not passively indifferent, but they're not actively manipulating. They're receiving. In the spring season, they're open and they're hearing and they're learning and they're finding the new thing that God is doing. When I was a pastor, I was so passionate about creating a context where people that had issues with doubts and struggles could process those honestly. Now, not like it's cool today to get stuck in the deconstruction, but I knew the only way on the other side of it was through it to get to a reconstruction. 15 and is such a different experience for me because it's not for everybody. It's not. It's for leaders. It's for leaders who are coming to a place that they're like, I don't want to let insecurities ruin the culture around me. I don't want to be at a place that I'm leading for validation in the moments that it counts the most. And so what I'm obsessed with here at 15 and is not giving you my political opinions or thoughts I have on ideas, and we can talk about those another time. I'm not trying to give you thoughts on everything. There's a lot of things in the world. God hasn't given me thoughts about that. I am trying to help with one thing that matters more than anything else. You finding the voice of God for yourself in the center of who you are, and that transforming you in such a way that you lead for impact, not validation. And you dedicate yourself to faith, hope, and love, showing up to community intentionally. And you cooperate with those insecure moments because they're life-changing. And I can't believe the goodness that comes out of me sometimes because I've been so changed. I'm like, I was totally patient there, and I would have bit my kid's head off for that in the past. And I still got a long way to go, and I'm not done. And when I'm not done, I'm continually renewed as I go through this process of cooperating with the seasons. Try it out for yourself, and may you find God has built this into reality. And you can be reminded of it just by looking out the window.
I hope you enjoyed this teaching from 15 and. Go to 15and.org, share these resources with others, and click the Donate Now button to participate in funding this mission.